All right, I got Benzino on the phone right now. Zeno, what's good?
Flash, what it do?
Hey, man, everything good. The other day we were talking about the Straight Outta Compton movie, and you actually had a story about you and Eazy-E that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, man, it took place like back in '94, so it's been kind of under the wraps since then. I really never had a need to kind of say anything, but, with the movie, which is kind of hard for me to go see, you know what I'm saying, because I haven't seen it yet, but, I'm going to end up, I could probably end up going to see it now after I tell my story, but it was kind of hard on me because I'd say back in '94, we was up at the source office, and actually the way it happened, the way it first started happening was my father was locked up at the time, and he had his lawyer was dealing with a lawyer that was actually Michael Borbeau. He was an attorney for a couple of mafia figures in Boston, and somehow, some way, he was connected to Ruthless Records, the guy Michael Borbeau. We had got a meeting with Eazy through Michael Borbeau, and the meeting was at the source office in New York. So, Eazy had came up there. Now, mind you, being from Boston, the Almighty RSO was a gangster rap group. I mean, we really came up under NWA, Ghetto Boys, but, like NWA was like our heroes, Eazy was like a god to us, you know what I'm saying? So, everything from all his first recordings to his last recordings, to NWA, we was just heavy into NWA. Everybody in Boston was, everybody at that time probably in the world was. But we had met with Eazy at the source office, and I remember him coming up there with he had the two Samoan guys as his bodyguards, and he had this dude named Mike Klein with him. Now, Mike Klein was, from my understanding, he was kind of the one looking over Eazy. He was this, looked like this Israeli army guy, but, he looked like Steven Seagal. One of those, one of those Israeli special ops dudes. Had the, medium leather jacket on coming down to his waist, you know what I'm saying? He had that thing tucked inside of it. I was impressed because he was in Manhattan like that, so I figured that this dude must be serious. So, he didn't say too much, but he was just kind of looking around, making sure Eazy was cool. Now I remember, Eazy, you know what I'm saying? He had his Lokes on, he had his signature Lokes on. He had that blue NWA kind of softballish jacket, like the man, I don't know it had the words NWA on, but the one that he wears a lot in the videos and stuff. So we had met. He said that we had just got dropped off our label Tommy Boy for a record called One in the Chamber, which was talking about police brutality. And I remember he was saying that he was familiar with the group, that we was always into controversy, and he wanted to hear some music. So we kicked it with him for a while at the source, and he told us to send him some music, in which we did. So a couple of days later, we met with him at the St. Regis Hotel, and he said he wanted to do an album deal with us. Now, mind you, this was our first album deal. We had an EP on RCA and a single on Tommy Boy, but we had never had an album deal. So we were super excited, you know what I'm saying? And at that time, a couple of our members in our group had been killed, so this was big for us. And, we had, after the meetings, I think Dave had discussed with Jerry Heller. I don't know if Eazy and Jerry were still cool at the time, but I remember Dave had a couple of phone conversations with him. I remember I had got on the phone with him. I just remember that we had a lawyer hash out with their lawyer. Their lawyer was named Tom Wally. Hash out the contract. It was for $150,000, and we remember him saying that Tamika and Yellow Boy had just got Bone Thugs, and we would be his group. So it was like two new groups coming to Ruthless, one from his wife Tamika's side, and the other one coming from him. So I remember he went back to L.A. and I remember he had went to see the Sinai, the hospital. And he just said he was going in there for a checkup. I had spoke with him over the phone that everything was cool, that the deal was being haggled, meaning we was negotiating the terms. We had made a couple more tracks, myself, JB, and 2 times the Hangman 3. We had this track called There'll Be Some that we had actually sent to him. And it's funny because there wasn't no email back then. We had mailed the cassette to the hospital. He gave me the address and everything. He says, listen to it up there. Then he had a cassette player up there. And I guess, it was just a situation that he was going to be in the hospital for a minute. I think he said he caught a cold or whatever, just getting checked out, because New York at that time was cold, and he went back. Maybe it was a change of the weather. So I remember talking to him again. He was in the hospital, and he said he had received the cassette. He said he loved the song, that the deal was going on. He can't wait, once he gets out, sign the deal, we're going to be, this was like a dream. So I spoke to him a third time. This time I had noticed that his voice was real raspy at this time. Like, he was talking more raspy. He had, like, a little, like his, like he had a real, like, how can I put it? Like, talking like this and everything. I was like, man, you all right? He was like, yeah. He told me he had bronchitis and, and like a touch of pneumonia. But when you heard that, pneumonia, you really didn't think about AIDS or nothing. I mean, you think of pneumonia just as a bad cold back then. Everybody caught, a little touch of pneumonia back then. So
right.
Really didn't think nothing at the time. A few days more went by, say about a week went by, we hadn't heard, about 4 or 5 days we hadn't heard from Eazy. So at this time we're getting worried. We're like, man, is it really going down? Did something happen? Is he not doing the deal? Is he even in, is he in the hospital? We didn't know what to think. We was anxious to get the deal done. We was excited. And, it was just something kind of funny because he hadn't called back. We hadn't heard back from the lawyer or nothing. So Dave was in LA at the time, and, he decided to go by the hospital just to, see if he was at the hospital, to see if, what was going down. So when he got there, he had got a call actually from Eazy and his lawyer, and, he had spoke to Dave. Dave was actually in the hospital when he called him. So it was kind of like a coincidence. So Dave didn't want to go, tell him he was at the hospital because we didn't want him to think that we was, that we thought that he was lying or anything. So Dave went to the gift store, sent up something, get well cards or something or whatever, and then he bounced. I'd say about 3-4 days later after that, I was in Boston. I'd never forget it. I was in the sub shop with my man Hurst, who was eating. And, it's crazy because I even remember the sub I was eating because that, like that moment forever kind of changed my life. Like, we had been through so much as a group in Boston, going through all kind of crazy stuff. And, even with the Source magazine, with the writers walking out and all kind of stuff with the Boston police suing us for the song. And just crazy stuff. And next thing you know, Dave called me and was like, yo, Eazy died of AIDS, man. I just remember, man, I couldn't even finish the sub. I think I might have threw it up. Went outside, man. I was like, man, I was just shocked. And, it was the first time because you got to remember I had just seen him maybe a month prior to that, and he was looking good. You didn't see no signs of him, deteriorating or having any type of major sickness that would change his appearance or nothing. And next thing you know, man, it was like almost for 4 days I just went in the crib, man, and I did not come out the house. I started thinking about, man, like what the hell was this? And so at that time, I guess, he had signed over Ruthless Records to Tamika. I remember there was a lawyer named Ron Sweeney involved at the time, and our deal never got done. Tamika, since she signed Bone Thugs, they was on Ruthless, and then we just never made it. So, when the movie came out, it was like there was a couple of parts people were telling me at the end where he went and see the Sinai, and I remember, I think Yellow Boy had gave him the cassette of Bone Thugs, but, there wasn't no mention of us. And, it was hard for me when he passed away. It was crazy because, like I said, Eazy was like a hero. Major influence, still is, you know what I'm saying? And, that's the story. I never said nothing to nobody, kept it to myself for years and years because I felt like, number one, probably nobody wouldn't believe us anyways. And number two, it was just, I just wanted to keep it personal. But now, me going to see the movie, I just wanted to let it out, you know what I'm saying? Because it kind of put closure to me with the situation. Because like I said, it was, that day forever changed my life because when you think about it, I was one of the last ones, I guess, on the outside to even talk to Eazy. And we was the last group that him personally was trying to sign us. So that's the story.
Yeah, it's really sad the way he passed. And, I was hearing different stories from people about, like, he was in the hospital for 3 months, he was, this.
No.
So, you actually told me that you talked to him in New York, and then a month later he was dead.
Yeah, it was around that. You know, I can't really get the exact. I just remember it was fast. I remember when he got back to L.A. See, see, I don't remember the exact times, but I do remember our contract was being hammered out. So, you know, when he got back to L.A., he was in the hospital. And, you know, once he got in the hospital, to me, it was like 2 weeks, and then he was gone. You know, maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember the exact, but it happened fast. You know what I'm saying? And that, to me, like I said, I hadn't known about anybody having AIDS like that. I had heard a few things, but I ain't known somebody to, you know, like from when I seen him, and then for him to just die that fast, it was just, you know, I didn't even know enough about it to say it was weird, it was funny. I just figured that that's what AIDS did to you, you know, and I mean, maybe he was one of the early ones, I guess, to kind of go like that. But, you know, when you look at like Magic Johnson, I mean, I know it's different from having HIV and full blown out AIDS, but whatever it was, it happened fast with Eazy. And you know what I mean? To this day, I really couldn't understand it.
Well, there's different thoughts about this whole thing. I mean, there was a interview we had put up from, I think, 1992 with Howard Stern, where Eazy talked about how he doesn't use condoms. And to be fair, Eazy has 10 children, because I talked to one of his daughters, and you know, she confirmed that to me. But then there was this Suge Knight interview that happened on Jimmy Kimmel, where he made a joke about how, you know, we don't kill people anymore, we just inject them with AIDS. It's the Eazy-E thing. So I know one of Eazy's kids, a couple of Eazy's kids actually believe that Suge Knight has something to do with Eazy dying, because none of the kids, I believe Eazy had 2 kids after he died. I'm not sure. I believe one of them was with Tamika, and the other one was with another woman. And nobody around Eazy, none of the women, none of the kids, nothing, were ever HIV positive. Now, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I mean, you got to think about it. You know, I mean, that's a great point. You know, I mean, you know, look, I remember, you know, I can't speak too much about Suge or anything else. I just know that this dude, Mike Klein, was a serious dude. The dude he had with him, the Israeli guy with him, he was a serious guy. You know, I could tell when, you know what I mean? Sometimes these securities are just jokes, but this dude was no joke. I mean, you got to look at it like this. I mean, you know, how could Suge get that close to Eazy to give him anything, you know, to kind of contaminate him or make him have anything? I don't see that. You know what I mean? But I don't see how that could happen. You know,
well, there was the incident in the studio where Suge and his people allegedly beat Eazy-E up in order for Eazy to sign the contract. That was actually in the movie, and I believe Jerry Heller spoke on that as well.
Well, I mean, you know, but that's one thing, beating people up, but, you know, street dudes don't, you know, I mean, that's serious stuff to be, you know, getting some type of disease and, you know, infecting somebody with it. I've never heard that. I've been around a long time. Yeah. I've never heard that. That's movie shit.
Yeah, I've never heard that either.
Yeah, I've never heard that. But, you know, again, you know what I'm saying, there's going to be a lot of conspiracy theories because of the way he went and how fast he went, and the fact that none of the kids or the women had HIV or AIDS. So it's something to kind of make you think. But then they said that Jerry Heller was having problems with him too. So, I mean, if anybody that was the closest to him, and not saying it was Jerry or anything, but at that point, his security and you know, the people closest to him from what I seen when he came to New York, those were the ones that was with him. I mean, I didn't know too much more than that, other than the 2 times I met with him, and then the 3-4 times I talked to him on the phone. He was in the hospital. Now, you know, I do remember, this is crazy because I remember after he died, and I do remember the couple of times when I met him, you know, he was coughing a little bit. Now it's crazy for me to remember that, because I even told Dave, I was like, damn, I remember he was coughing. But again, you know, I mean, I'm an older cat, so when you catch a cold and you catch pneumonia, it was just, you know, you stay in bed, you drink your fluids, and then you're better in 3-4 days. You get a fever, you know what I'm saying? You whatever medicine that was out back then, they give it to you, and bang. So, you know, pneumonia wasn't really so connected to AIDS because a lot of people had pneumonia. So, you know, I mean, it's you know, we can speculate, on how he died. But, when it's all said and done, he was in Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and they said he had AIDS. Now, if it was a conspiracy, then everybody in that hospital was down with the conspiracy, the doctors, the nurses. And so, I don't, and again, I haven't heard of anybody being injected with AIDS or, if they put AIDS in the cereal or, what I mean? It's kind of far-fetched, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. Well, I guess the joke that Suge Knight said on national television probably fueled a lot of the speculation. Because I've been hearing this rumor for years. I just had no idea where it came from. And then once I actually saw the video clip, I'm like, okay. Now I see.
That's not a cool joke. And to me, it's, if you know what I'm saying? Look, they were beefing. So, of course, y'all are going to say things on each other's side or whatever. But I don't know if it was a coincidence. I don't know. I went online. I seen the interview too, man. But I can't say. Can't tell. You can't say. We know that they had, issues, but you can't say as far as, I don't see Suge getting AIDS and, getting a needle full of AIDS or a cup full of AIDS and doing something, put it on Eazy. I can't see that. You know what I'm saying? But hey, you know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, Suge was never convicted or even charged with this. So really it's just all.
Yeah, but again, how are you going to convict somebody of giving somebody, like, okay, I've heard of, people in jail or someone who contracted, they try to spit on somebody or something like that. Then they'll, I've heard of that. But that's a person who already had AIDS that, try to put it on someone else, not people who don't have AIDS find the virus and then just somehow, you know what I'm saying, give it to somebody else. I just never heard. To this day, I've never heard about that. So it's not like, come on, think about it. You know what I'm saying? You haven't heard about that now. So whatever it was, man, it happened. Yeah. I guess we'll never find out when it's all said and done. But, Eazy, he'll always be a legend in the game. I think, shout out to F. Gary Gray, Cube, and Dre, you know what I'm saying, for bringing the movie to light, because it's good that this new generation really understands how Eazy and NWA really kind of shaped our culture as far as bringing, what's going on in the streets to the masses. You know what I'm saying? And that was major. I just wish that he had made it through. I wish that we was on Ruthless Records. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because after that we ended up being on Rap-A-Lot Records. We went to Houston and Jay Prince kind of signed us, and those are the two labels basically that we always wanted to be on anyways. Ghetto Boys, NWA, we was just turned out by that music. So, that was big for us. But, like when I think about it, it's like I said, when I go see the movie, I know it's going to choke me up because, that was big for me. That was big for all of us. And, as far as Boston goes, we really would have been on the map being on Ruthless Records with Eazy-E. It didn't happen that way, and that's the way the story goes. But at least now, I get to finally, tell it because we went through a lot, Vlad, as far as the RSO was, the Almighty RSO. So if we would have got signed to Ruthless, that would have been vindication. That would have been like, yo, these boys are serious. Because if Eazy seen it, then come on, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like I said, it didn't happen out, that way. But I guess I can go see the movie this weekend now.
Yeah, man. Great movie. I actually went to the premiere. And I came in very, very speculative about the movie. There's a couple people that have seen an early cut, told me it wasn't that good. And NWA is actually my favorite group of all time in music.
Right. Mine
so
too.
I had very, very high hopes, especially after Notorious was sort of okay. It wasn't bad,
right.
but it wasn't great. So I came in, I saw it. They did a great job. The story was dead on. There were a couple little things here and there, but overall, the story was exactly what I understood it to be. So, good job to everyone involved. And
yeah, F. Gary Gray, it's a hell of a director. You know what I'm saying? He's that West Coast dude. So I knew once F. Gary Gray was involved, it was gonna be dope. And then once you had Cube and Dre, kind of behind it. Come on, they was right there the whole time. So you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it where it's supposed to be. Again, shout out to Eazy, his whole family. You know what I'm saying? His son, his daughter, you know, because at the end of the day, their father was a hero for a lot of reasons, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I mean, one thing about hip hop, and especially with this new generation, we kind of tend, you know, this new generation is just so anti anything older than them that this right here, you know, now maybe they can really understand that, you know, everything that they consider old school isn't, you know, outdated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I still listen to Straight Outta Compton. I got NWA's greatest hits. You know, I work out to that almost every other day. So, you know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is. And, you know, hopefully, you know, like with a Tupac, hopefully a Source Magazine movie. You know what I mean? I mean, what the hell, man? We went through so much and seen so much. And, you know what I mean? So, you know, man, shit, I could even see a DJ Vlad movie. You never know.
You never know. Well, Benzino, man, I appreciate you calling in, as always.
All right, bro. I appreciate it, Vlad.
But why would Dre put me in it?
Okay.
I mean, because if they start from where they start from, I was just a quiet girlfriend who got beat up and told to sit down and shut up.
Me personally, I do as well, because I mean, even to this day, none of his kids, none of his baby mamas, his mistresses, nobody has came up with HIV or nothing like that. So I mean, just rationally thinking, some had to go on.